Welcome to another episode of Insiders. I'm here with my friend Maki. She's an aviation specialist, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what's happening and what's been happening between the United States, the invasion. Well, it was an invasion, and they take the president. They took the president of Venezuela in custody. Now he's in New York, and everything that's been happening, Russia and Ukraine with the Crimea part, and China, of course, because he comes from Hong Kong. He's Cantonese, and he can gives us a very insight of his perception of what's been happening, what's going to happen in the future about this topic, and it's really interesting because it can reshape the form as we see the life as we've been experiencing, especially here in Canada also, because it also has affected economically, especially when we talk about oil reserves. So yeah, I wanted to ask you, Mikey, are your thoughts about this operation, special operation about that Donald Trump and his government did in Venezuela the past few days?
Well, yes, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's actually a very interesting topic. In fact, I think this is quote unquote, interesting because it really depends on where you are, where you're from, how you to see it from different angle of this historic, I would say, call it a historic event. We probably would talk more about why I think it's they're going to change a lot of things, how we interact with this real world. But I think the first thought is, I would say, is very like surreal because this is my first time spending the
Columbus 2026. That's how we started.
exactly. I sometimes I'm not sure whether I really living in the real world now or are we are living in the Matrix. Matrix is even pull calmer.
Follow the white rabbits.
The blue pill or red pill. Actually, every day we need to decide. But exactly, I mean, when you're trying to enjoy the white Christmas, we are actually kind of blessed and lucky enough to have spend the Christmas and New Year in, I would say, one of a very amazing town, Montreal.
Yeah.
It's a I would call it an air pocket of Canada, and then Air Canada is kind of also like a bubble of the world in a way.
It's a capital, yeah, of the world. There's many people from many countries and many cultures, and I think that's about the great thing about Montreal. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. In the same time, you see different people of different backgrounds showing that you have chance to talk. Just like how we met here, you are from Ecuador, which is South America. So I might have been to a dream of it.
And as you mentioned, it's a beautiful country.
Exactly. And I really appreciate that when you introduced me, you mentioned I'm a Cantonese because not many people, usually people see me more, they recognize me as a Chinese.
Right.
But as a Chinese, there could be many also different groups. So even depends on which part of the China or Chinese you are,
Right.
You will have very different worldview.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, it's like every country in the world, especially if you're talking about one of the biggest country and the most powerful countries in the world, which is China, Russia, United States. And it's been interesting going back a little bit to what happened in Venezuela because yeah, first of all, I know some people from Venezuela, and I know the struggle they have to leave their country. I have so many friends that did that, and they're really happy that they took out Maduro because he was after the death of Chavez, the first president of this party. Um, there was a big exodus of people. People left the country because there was no opportunity. Inflation got to historical heights, and yeah, they have to suffer and to adapt to a new situation where they dollarize and they use dollar now because their currency was useless basically, and even though they have one of the biggest oil reserves in the world, they have struggled for many years, and especially since Chavez and then Maduro took power and remain in power, which is very, very, very interesting topic. There's a lot of people that said that it was a dictator, basically. He remained in power, and there was a lot of protests and a lot of people against. But there was also people that was supporting him, and maybe not as much as they tried to show. But there was people, and yeah, nevertheless, it's good. It's not good. Do you think that because the fact that they are the biggest oil reserve in one of the biggest world, if not the largest oil reserves of the world, um, and United States happen to need that, it will come really well, especially in this time. And like I said, it will affect directly Canada because Canada has oil and gas reserves. And with that, United States won't get our oil, like the Canadian oil. And it's already, he always said that he was pursuing that goal, like the oil. So, are your thoughts about this? What do you think about the consequences of these acts? Primarily because the speech of Donald Trump, it has changed a lot. He said that he was a dictator, that he was a narco terrorist. Now I think he backward, like he backed down a little bit on that speech. Anyways, Maduro, the president of Venezuela, it's now uh, in prison in New York, and I think it was yesterday that he has trial, and he proclaimed himself innocent. And what are your thoughts? Why did the United States did that? They did that to bring democracy, you know, or they want the oil, and it's it going to affect. As I am as a Ecuadorian, I'm a little bit worried because Venezuela is our neighbor. It's really goes from throughout. We share history together. Actually, our flags have the same colors, and it's because we were one big country back in the day. And he actually, like Donald Trump said, and Jimenez, the president of Colombia. So is this going to happen? He's going to jump to Colombia, maybe then Ecuador. Actually, be afraid. What is going to happen? That's not very clear. And what are your thoughts about this?
Well, when you are talking about when you're introducing to the whole context, I kind of a lot of idea come into my mind. So I'm pretty sure also everybody now has a lot of questions, including myself. But one thing actually you just started to introduce about China that caught me a bit. I think that's with the start. Actually, because I'm kind of a newcomer here, and South America or Latin America is pretty new to me. It only well, from most of my adulthood, I don't really have much to come across. Until recently, it come more frequent on the news because I'm living in North America, right? But when you say one of the biggest like China and the biggest country, but actually, I think it worth to first understand where we are, our position, in order to see. Okay, my job or usually my the way I see things, I'm try to go back to the, I think it's called the basic principles. Like you make things go back to the original states and trying to get back to where you are standing, and then where the actual events or the facts. So first, I think it's better to I will ask myself question. I mean, how I see as an Asian. As a person, I have some exposure in North America from my university education, but then spend most of my adulthood in Asia, Hong Kong specifically. Meanwhile, you're talking about when you see Asia, actually the biggest country in the world in terms of population is India now. Yeah, China is not large enough. The population is in on
It was like some years ago, but yeah, China, like India.
yeah. And but you're right that Russia is the biggest country in terms of the territory, right? But at the same time, the biggest country from oil actually is also, that's our topic, is Venezuela. So it has And I mean, in the top four oil reserve of the world, number one is Venezuela. It has 20% of the global, like all the no known reserves. I forgot another two and three, but one is in Saudi Arabia and one is Saudi Arabia. I forgot which one, the two, second, and third, but the fourth is Canada. You're right. So there's this now into a very interesting um, um, layer. Let's say we put it into layers. Yeah, you've talking about the energy supply, talking about the crude oil supply. Yeah. Now Venezuela suddenly come back to the world map. Right. Before it's been gone for 2-3 decades. I think somebody measured 45 years. Yeah. That from Chavez to Maduro, that's
Well, for it's not that it hasn't been. It's been important actually. There's like China and Russia. They've been lenders for years to Venezuela, Ecuador, and some other countries in South America. And it's like we pay muy duro, in Ecuador and Venezuela as well. So yeah, they must be worried, but at the same time, I don't know. I think there's a part to maybe because after what happened with Russia, Putin, he gathered and he has an operation in Ukraine. Donald Trump supports that vision, which was very different from President Biden. And but if we know something, it's that Donald Trump is a businessman. Businessmen, they don't do anything for free. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but he let that happen in order to Russia to remain calm when they do this. So it was a smart move, maybe a smart position to not make a big deal and to take side because Donald Trump and the government of the United States took part on Russia in the conflict and not the European Union and Ukraine. That happened, still development, conflict in development, but the United States didn't do anything to stop it. Second, he did this, yeah. Russian government, Chinese government, they proclaim themselves against these actions because of international law of not involvement and this principle that reigns all the countries in the world that you shouldn't go into another country and interfere into their business, into their political states, and it's just what happened. And I don't know, talking about China, Asia, because yeah, of course, I've never been in Asia, I've never been there. I know a little bit of history because of I see why like the news stuff coming to me. But I know there's a lot of tension between China and Taiwan. Actually, I know that they call Taiwan the rebel like province because of history facts. So it would be a good moment for China to take over Taiwan since like everybody takes a piece. And will they stop at this point, or they start annexing other like countries on the side because they like Donald Trump declarations pronounces in the news and to the media is that Colombia was next. So it kind of give us like, are we living in another like kind of international special term? And we're talking about imperialism expansion, or they will stop at some point and they will respect international laws because they have been being respected. Like, and this is very important because I think, for example, I think Nicolas Maduro is the dictator. I know for friends that it was very difficult life for them then there, and yeah, like some people got happy, maybe like they bought happy because of they realized that the person who was like he this photo of their problems and the struggle, it's now in prison. But first of all, the problem is not solved. Second of all, there are international laws that have been violated in this operation, and will they stop? Because if you don't like, laws are to be respected, that's the point of them, and if there's like one big country, strong country, then doesn't, then like I said, like maybe China can jump into Taiwan and do the same. And who's gonna say what? Because everybody's taking like a little piece. And will they stop at some point? like what's going to happen is going to be like five major countries in the whole world. They're going to divide it like a pie. I don't know. Like that's not everything that we're talking about. This is just suppositions, and we want to talk and to see what's going to happen in the future. Of course, from we're trying to be objective, and that's the whole point of this conversation. But yeah, what are your thoughts about what I just said?
Well, again, that actually can cover a lot of topics, but let's try to bring it to something come up to my mind.
Right.
First, you mentioned about Donald Trump, but I would say um, just keep reminding myself all the information you receive, you already go through many filters, many media that is all being processed. It could be processed to meet certain people's agenda. It could be just processed to meet my appetite. It could be just because of the algorithm. So it has, I mean, it would take some time and a lot of critical thinking to really see what what's the real reason that he made this such a uh, um, uh, spend like operation to capture the president of another Soviet country. However, but if you zoom out from focusing on one president, one person, then I think it's more representing a kind of like a phenomenon or people like the word. If you so I would say, I will even argue, like Donald Trump himself, he's not representing himself, maybe because yes, was a businessman. But now he's also a politician on the second term, and he was being elected by the
Really? Yeah.
by the people from the United States. So
Right.
it's definitely representing a large thoughts, people's opinion, public's opinion. Right. And then I start to still, if you ask further, I mean, if you can ask instead of why Donald Trump does this, you can ask what if you are Donald Trump, what you're gonna do. I believe if you ask 100 people, 100 people will give you a different answer. Some may say, oh, yeah, may say for democracy. Some may just say because of he doesn't like him. It could.
Yeah, like, there's a reality, like, and we can, because yeah, of course, like, that's what I said, because it's really like it's really intense topic for other people.
But you can, instead of talking about why, I think it's more important to ask what's the impact, what's the consequences,
Right.
and then in order to understand the consequences or the impact, we probably should look back what happened. So there's a lot of incidents for the last 5 years. Actually, I usually use the COVID 2020, like in the year 2020, the year when COVID outbreak started, the pandemic, because they're actually all saying I was kind of scary when during the COVID time, because before COVID there was SARS, because it's a bit remote. It's in 2001 or 2002. There's SARS outbreak in China again. So I kind of already comparing it, but this time is completely different. So then there's one saying in the Chinese historian, they say, after usually after a pandemic, usually they don't even need to the scale of pandemic, epidemic, then will follow with famine and war. So yeah, take a moment to think about it. If you are now living in 2020, when you just heard the news that there's some kind of flu-like symptoms, people just need to wear masks, people just die out of no reason, and you have no cure. And then if you already follow some people in the historian, they know the pattern that when many people died from kind of infectious virus or disease, that means many years later there will be famine and then there'll be war. And now you look back the last 5 years. Okay. First, I believe there will be famine going from Africa, because there will be what's that called, the locusts, I think, the insects that they eat all the crops. And then a lot of the worldwide, they have drought, they have like this kind of a harvest issue. They don't have enough food, or basically not enough water. Why? Because there's a disruption of the supply of the fertilizer. The supply chain is simply disrupted. So you do not provide the fertilizer to the right place. and that the place used to produce enough food. Now you don't have enough resources to produce.
They was talking about resources. Resources. So water actually is the what the first point, right? Of the words, like it's resources.
But since the chaotic, the disruption of the so-called the globalization, global logistic, everything started to emerge problem. First is on the food or price level. In some places, you see the price level is going up because the disruption of free trade. But also very soon you see the Russia, Ukraine, this conflict invasion, and then you see the Middle East and the rest of the world. We never seen such a chaotic war since World War II. So that means a collapse. But you
Interesting.
and then you war, and then now you put so we look in 2022 and now to compare the last 5-6 years, and now you see there's some pattern emerge, and it might mapping something in the history, and then now we go back totally jump back to 1945, 43, the Second World War, and now we understood maybe the world order. We used to say the international laws about the free trade is not free. It came from the results from the Second World War.
Right.
And who was but then what's the really, when you're looking at the Second World War world order, the most representing organization is the United Nations.
Yeah, it was born after World War II. So yeah, World War II, and I think it was like the human, the universal champ realized that it was in the, if I'm not wrong, in 1948.
Around, yeah, it's from
They finished in 45, and yeah, it was in 48, and then the the United Nations was born, and that was the premise. That was that, like, they don't want to work well, but do you think, because it's interesting that this debate has led to a worldwide topic. We're talking about world war. Do you think we are in like doors or of a third world war? Maybe we're living it. It's not about weaponry, it's about the resources. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to negotiate more this time than weapons?
Probably. Yes, actually, I think we already have people answer this question. I think it's from Albert Einstein. He said, we don't know when will be this third world war, but he knew this third world war would be fought by states.
Yeah.
But maybe he's not 100% correct, but we're pretty. So by that, if we just use his definition, if the World War III is not fought it's not hot war, let's say,
Right.
or not even, so we are already in somehow, either somebody say we are already in the World War III,
Yeah.
because like the cyber warfare, the virtual space, and the trade war, the in the Chinese terminology is called ultimate, the war without boundaries.
Yeah.
So like if like also financial war, like trade war, which you like use earlier, like embargo, tariff. These are all methods, but you're just not killing people I mean, instantly. But these people,
Yeah, they're different kind of wars, and they live in a different kind of dimensions. Even
so you can say we are already in the. If it's not already a war, but at least we're very close to the World War III. Oh, that's like a opening to the. So we see the trajectory is going to chaotic war, but
yeah.
but then some people say it's just Cold War 2.0. So
Yeah,
they say the Cold War never go away.
but although the Cold War was between Russia and the United States, now they say you have multipolar. It's more. Yeah, of course, like you cannot. On side China, they're very strong, and
Yeah, but before we even go further, I mean, I know I'm not. I mean, let's say even we think bigger. So the World War II created the United Nations, which led to the free trade with the globalization. We know it led to the prosperity for the 80s. I mean, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the first millennium. That's really the peak of it.
we don't know that that's a good thing that came out of war,
Because that's trade.
reshape the countries and the worldwide and the resources as well. But yeah, it came after that. It came a long time of peace and stability, I would say. And the United Nations or the organization that I think they're good effort to maintain peace in the world. They're not that effective at the moment at this time because we're living different times. And but we're still talking about the resources, strategic resources for nations that have been a. It's crazy, man. But yeah, like I've heard like Russia, like Putin and Donald Trump, they have a good relationship, but they have been bombing and like spying each other. They didn't stop that, doing that. I don't think they will. They have to. There's a saying that you have to have your enemy close, but your friends closer. And I think this comes from the anarchist perspective that you don't trust anybody. So yeah, especially if you're talking about the country's resources is really difficult, but at the same time there are boundaries established. But like nuclear weapon, you cannot go as far as that because that will be the end of the human race and the world as we know. So they won't do it, hopefully. Eh, but uh, but I think they will stretch. They will stretch and try to get the most out of it, and I think it will reshape the until when, how many resources they will get. That's on here, and will they stop? That's on here too. But I think we're living in a world struggle again that will reshape the the life as we know. And there's an interesting factor because while blow leaders are dividing the resources illegitimate in an illegitimately way, if you ask me, but they're doing it. And but AI's development at the same time, they're using drones for war. Like that did happen in World War II. It's very recent, and yeah, and AI is developing a lot, and it's another kind of that's the cold war you're talking about. Like also there's a race of technology development because and that's also resources because for the chips you need certain specific materials that they're not all the country have them, and they're sometimes expensive, but there are new ways to create them that are cheaper. It's a race. I think it's like a cold war with a small war of the real war all at the same time. It's crazy, but it's like a.
Actually, I think you pinpointed the key word for all the international here topic alone history is about resources. So when when let's say when the British Empire they expand, they're looking for the resources, and at that time was because of the
It's Rome and Egypt. Every period before
how huge that survival counts on or the economy counts on resources, and actually is I would even argue is not resources always scarce. It's the scarcity creates resources, right? I mean because you need it. I'll give you an example. If you're in a desert and you out of water, water become resources, but you don't think every day here because you open the tap and you have the tap water. So it doesn't look to you like a like air you're breathing, but when you're in the heavily polluted area, fresh air is resources. So if I'm trying to say, let's say something near like the British Empire, they expand because of the Industrial Revolution and what they need capital. And that time, silver and trade is the driving factor of the expansion. That's why you have British Empire. And now you fast forward to Second World War. What was the resources? Yeah, like energy, because you have that's why you're after oil. So I will even argue petroleum, oil, they are the last century's resources.
right.
So if I can ask you the question, or I mean, this is actually I'm thinking. I don't. Maybe you get it. That's it. Let's say if we are right now on the really a new era of history, we witnessed the new we are older. Yeah, what kind of resources United States is after? What kind of resources China is after? what kind of resources Russia's after, what kind of resources every country, every nation, every people is after. I don't think it's air. I mean, we still have breathable air for Bison 9. Well, I don't think about oil, but maybe water. You should oil because oil actually on the decline, and then we have more oil. U.S. always a net oil exporter.
Yeah.
For decades.
Yeah, but maybe ruin water.
I'm sorry, there's still resources, but what would be the most defining resources to be make the nation becoming the most, they give them the best competitive advantage.
Yeah.
What you think?
Like I said, well, they're fighting over oil, of course. That's traditional uh, resource, for power, for energy. We have natural resources. I mean, waterfalls, and all that. That allows for Canada, for instance. They lend electricity to the United States. Yeah. They lend electricity to New York, and when uh, the tariff situation start to happen, they managed to close that deal to stop giving electricity to New York.
Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest.
And you know why that? Why US is actually they have a lot of oil, but they don't have enough electricity.
That's it. But let me finish this idea. If New York's gonna need it, and the the United States have to be hostile to get it, they will do it. For me, they will do it because that's the new thinking. Like, I need this right now, I get it, or I will need that in the near future, I get it. Or if you don't want health tariffs, it's a hostile. It's very hostile. The dynamic that we have between countries is hostile. It's be like this. There was Putin in Ukraine. Donald Trump won the elections, and he started this confrontative speech. He started with sanctions, with tariffs, and then boom, he went to Venezuela, and he kidnapped the president of Venezuela. But there's something that doesn't add up and that I don't understand. Maybe it's a part of a strategy, but she took the president, but her vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, she took over power. And her speech is that they're going to continue with the same policy, with the same political view, which is left. Uh, and you have there like the Ministry of I don't know how to say this. Well, the person in charge of the military on there. They're still in power. I don't remember his name. Diosdado, that's his name. He's still they run the country still. And what happened, like, because Maduro was sleeping in different places and didn't sleep at all once, so I think it was a pact. There's no way that the United States, with such a small team, without doing so much like so little noise, they kidnap. They say that they even have a map of the premises that he was sleeping in, so they knew everything. Where is the door? What to do, and what the time. It was premeditated, and that suggests that there was a pact. Somebody.
There's no doubt for that.
Yeah, definitely. But my point is that, okay, there was another party against this party that's been there for decades, and they didn't change government. They continue with the same, and they have the legitimacy because Marco Rubio, the secretary of the White House, he said that they're talking and they're negotiating with Delcy Rodriguez. That she has other speech. I don't know. It's just a speech saying that nobody does that to Venezuela, that their government is their resources, and that they're not gonna say. Then Donald Trump said, like, okay, if you continue with this speech, you're gonna do worse than Maduro, than President Maduro. Yeah. So I don't know, like, what's going to happen in Venezuela, for example. Do you have an idea? Like, you definitely like United States Donald Trump said that they will run, they will be take care of the oil reserve. They say for the United States and for Venezuelans also.
Yeah, well, it's a really hard to predict really what's gonna happen specifically, but it's a trend we can speculate. Um, First is I think is it will freeze the hands on the resources of Venezuela because the removal of the Basta de Maduro. So now, at least Venezuela has an opportunity, right, to sell the resources, which is the biggest resource of the oil, not just to China and Russia. Now they're selling in the $1 million per day.
Oh yeah,
When their peak time is 3 million barrels a day, I think they have about 80, 800 or 80 billion or whatever, this huge number.
oh yeah.
So now they are back to the global energy layer. They come back to the player in the world energy trade.
Yeah.
So that means they should be able to generate more income and will improve the living standard for the general public, from the infrastructure
To Venezuela, but also, well, they will determine how many percentage because we have Chevron, which is one of the biggest oil companies, and it comes from the United States, and it's been operating in Venezuela. It's never
It do take a while, and because their oil is heavy crude, so it's not able to process there. They can only process in West Coast from the States, so it has to be somehow there's some kind of cooperation. That's one thing we can say. I mean, but actually, Venezuela, it's still it needs some time to see how it evolves. It's too early to see, but at least it earned itself a chance. If you
right.
you see the light from the tunnel.
Yeah.
You already see a light of tunnel, but you're just not there yet. It takes a couple more years. But also, what Trump made it very clear, he is up to re-embracing the Monroe Doctrine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty clear. Yeah, he doesn't want this. You don't. I mean, also the same thing in all the.
America for the Americans.
Well, this is a bit make it. It's a bit of. I mean, the words in the internet has been already been either this. I mean, shifted from its original means to or make it to be meme. But let's try to use plain language. You don't want to sleep with the enemy. You don't. Your bed doesn't want to have a. That's how the Chinese say. Your bed. You don't want the enemy or anybody sleep in your bed. In the Judaism advice, yeah, same way as anybody, right? Anybody. And in the U.S., it's like they don't want to have any hostile rivals in their backyard. Basically, it's Latin America. They don't want. So that's why.
Yeah, like I'm come from South America, and to hear that it's kind of his backyard, that's a little bit like how do you say, like annoying. Like not everybody will take it on a good way because yeah, maybe we're countries like Ecuador or Venezuela, they're countries in development, but they have sovereignty. You know, they have their own governments and their own resources, and they have the faculty, the option of taking their own resources and they can taking the most out of it. You know, so yeah, on the fact that the United States is being the like big powerful country, and it has definitely even in the 80s and then before the 80s. Wolf after like you said the Monroe um, political and this indoctrination. But it is correct, and
It's not my credit. It's being pragmatic, being realistic, because it's actually if you see, let's assume the world order second from the war second is going to be a bit of to the edge. It's going to be not working anymore because it's not U.S. getting weaker, but it's the rest of the states because of this the revolution, the free trade getting. The industry revolution and free trade makes everybody more stronger. Everybody has a nuclear bomb, so there's no more say like. And then in the same time, U.S. itself is its industry has been because of the global trade becoming weaker because the middle class is shrinking. They have suffering. They've been suffering. So if I were the governor, if I were the person, I mean, I want to look after my people. So first Trump trying to bring the industry back. So basically, he want American first. So if that's the case, and if free trade doesn't do U.S. goods, they'll like just look. We take care of our house first before we care about our neighbor.
But that's the difference, because if you're talking about, yeah, America first, yeah, perfect. Also, America, like the United States, is taking resources from a country that is not theirs, but Venezuelan Venezuelan citizens, they're not allowed to go freely to the United States. So yeah, you know, my yeah, America, for the Americans, American is a whole continent, you know, and Venezuela are Americans as well. Ecuadorians were Americans, and that's the truth, you know. And I understand that Donald Trump and what he's pretending to say, but it's not fair at the same time, you know, that he's using other countries' resources for their own benefit without giving benefit to the places, to the countries that where the resources are coming from. That's the thing. And at what point, like, if yeah, he can take the oil, but you guys, you cannot come into Venezuela. Actually, the whole eyes, he's close to the borders. Literally, he's not letting people. It's not easy now to be an American to get the green card, or not only the green card, like the passport, the American passport, the citizenship, and maybe that's his dialect. Okay, now we close
I
borders.
see it's a different. This is a different topic because yeah, to trade is like it's different from travel freedom. Let's say yeah, you are able to sell. I mean, as a Venezuelan, they sell the oil. I mean, I don't see why they have to travel to the States. I mean, right.
Yeah, it's different kind of figure.
Even in the wars, let's say in the height of the Cold War between Russia, I mean USSR, and
You're right that they don't have to travel freely to the, but why do the United States has to take oil from Venezuela? Why? It's another country.
well, right now it's still a speculation. I mean, US do not need.
Yeah.
Let's say
They do. I think they do.
well, I mean, from the actually it's a different. It's not the same thing. When you say they need, they do. I don't think they need the oil as the supply stock energy. When they do, I mean, the American, they do want to involve in the trading and investments of the Venezuelan resources. That's no doubt.
Yeah.
But it's two different things.
But the one thing is taking out the president and controlling the oil reserves, which I think that's where, well, what they're going to, or am planning to do. We will see. Time will tell. But yeah,
I think it boils down to the end of the day. I think there'll be some people will see, okay, this is something the Venezuelan people wanted to happen. It doesn't matter out. But some people argue that would destroy is set a bad example or destroy the structure of the Second World War. You are invading or you are capturing a president from the Soviet country. It's and by the end of the day, actually, sometimes even endless analysis doesn't count until you use your common sense. To use things, I mean, we usually try to avoid to put things in the good or bad,
right.
because we want to be scientific, we want to analyze in the objective, we want to quantify things.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we are human, and the whole society is from individual or endless of individual human.
Yeah.
And it's always we should go back to the basic principle and ask: do you feel good? Do you see it as a good thing or a bad thing?
Time will tell. Definitely.
Exactly. That's right. Time will change, and they will change your first.
So it is the fact that the president has been a dictator to go to jail. It's really good. They were celebrating that, and yeah, perfect. I understand that. And actually, I think, yeah, it gives a sense of justice to all what they've done wrong in the country. But at the same time, what's going to happen next? Like the government is still the same people in it. They're already running. Maybe they're negotiating more with the United States, which that was the problem with Maduro. He was very close to do that. Now they're forced to negotiate. And I think Delcy Rodriguez is very, very smart person. That's why she got to the legitimacy. She sit on the table and she's ready to discuss. And she's having an interesting speech. Once again, time will tell, but let me put out this way, just for us to understand, because now, like Venezuela, yeah, they have all resources, but they don't have nuclear weapon, right? And that changes everything, because what if Venezuela, dictator Nicolas Maduro, they have like a nuclear weapon, just like North Korea, just for an instance. United States would never dare to do that. Never, never. You know
Iran has nuclear weapons.
what?
Iran has nuclear weapons.
Uh, I don't. They do.
They do, and then the US just bombed them, destroyed the central.
That was happening just there is interesting. Yeah. But until what point? Because I don't know. Like, once again,
What there was,
I don't think they're gonna do that to North Korea for some.
I heard some politician mention or critics say nuclear weapons only useful when you don't use them. When you say you're gonna use it, you lose it. That's what happened to Russia because they talk so many times they say gonna use it, nobody shoot it anyways.
It's hard to use something in the world where many.
It does. We are even going to the technical level whether the nuclear weapon is still effective enough, whether the interception, like the system from now, is able to intercept the ballistic missile. We're just talking about the political, with the game theory, like very purely strategic. You only good that nuclear weapon only good enough when you're just threatened to use it, but you never use it.
Yeah, but there's a point where one crazy guy with a huge ego can use it. Ooh, there's many great like big leaders with.
We're in and breathing, and that's exactly why. Because in this instant, this version of the multiverse, the universe we're living, maybe we die many times in other universe already. So many people crazy push the button. That's where we are talking here right now. There's still nobody using it.
Right.
And you'd have to. That's also about how like this kind of.
That's a scary. The fact is just to think about that. When will you like there's
You can't gonna be able,
and it's gonna be like
you have to with your fault for analytics, for analyzing. You have to be only based on logic and rationale.
right.
You cannot speculate an event that is out of ordinary, out of logic. You cannot expect sometimes some leader just suddenly disappear or became crazy and they push the button. Outcome conversation, have a cop-out conversation, can never go through that.
Yeah, I treat the fact like if you tell me last year that they were pursuing, they were menacing Maduro, yeah, but many people didn't thought it was they were gonna actually do it. You know the way they did it, they kidnapped their president.
I mean, that's how I actually interpret it. Sometimes for this kind of really hard to interpret,
That's a kind of crazy thing, but it happened.
it actually happened to our everyday. So, let me use the example for when are we gonna die because of some crazy fanatical dictator or whoever has the nuclear button kill everybody? Is we might, but the chance is like you're being struck by lightning. So when there's a thunderstorm, do you afraid? Yes, I'm afraid. But will you think you will be killed?
There's people who've been killed by lightning. It's really smart percentage. I understand your point, but it has happened.
But the percentage is higher than being killed by nuclear bombs because it never happened.
But it has happened.
It is. We don't rule out that it can happen.
Yeah.
So we cannot speculate and make plans to project things about the accident. That's one way I see it.
Right.
And the other about the Venezuela, I will try to understand, trying to put myself in their shoes. I will say, that's how I see it. Forget about Donald Trump, forget about United States. Suppose Venezuela only living in their own place, they don't know anybody else. And then one day there's an alien civilization came, adopted their president, and it's gone.
It's gone, yeah.
But when everybody woke up, our leader's gone. I mean, our president's gone. You don't care. Don't ask the question who did it, and don't ask the question where did it go. But now is what next?
What's next? Exactly. What's next? What will happen next? It's really hard to tell. For me, there's two options. They will continue doing that in other countries. I don't think so. I don't think that will happen. Uh, if you ask me, I would say, yeah, Russia, Ukraine, they're gonna do that. United States, Venezuela, that was a very strategic move in the World War, world. And maybe I see China uh, having something in Taiwan. Although the United States being really, really, really against that, and I think there's like some World War like ships over there. So I don't know, but now China could do that. Like you guys, you did the same. Like I can do that and actually have some history um, and legitimacy to do it. I don't think so. I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know that much about history, but um, yeah, it's another country, Taiwan, and it's an island. So yeah, but they could do that, you know. But further than that, like I don't see the United States invading other countries and doing the same. Not in the near future, and I don't see Russia doing the same. I don't see China doing the same. Maybe they do this because of like strategy resources that they really need and to defend themselves. Well, maybe United States will go for Greenland. Greenland, they said that for national security purposes they will do it. Um, maybe that's my pro. I don't know where. Maybe they will stop there. Maybe not. We'll see.
That's how I see. I mean, at least I'm trying to find the framework to see what's happening. I tend to agree. It's the collapse of the world order from Second World War, which the entry and globalization is not gonna. I mean, it's gonna be deglobalization for sure from the train. Yeah, and then we going back since also Don Trump mentioned about we actually use the Monroe Doctrine actually give a very strong signal. Is one the word is heading is everybody after themselves. There will be the powers, the world powers that will redefine the border of the influence and territories. It could be the physical territory, could be the influence or the interest territory. Right? So now it's in a very dynamic, aka chaotic situation. Everybody, the big powers trying to find they were completely abandoned. We already see is abandoning the world Second World War order, and now they're trying to reestablish the touch points. And whatever the touch point touches, that's conflicts and friction. Right. So I kind of see U.S. is on the contractionary instead of for the last couple after Second World War, U.S. was expansionary. Now it's a contraction. It's trying to retreat to the Americas, so that's you see a Monroe Doctrine. You see the he's
It's gonna be a continent more thing.
yeah. You're trying to retreat. I mean, not to invest on the other conflicts or war order in Europe or Middle East. Trying not to evolve too much. So that and then in the same time, the vacancy of the U.S. Presence will basically, if you are on the gangs on the city, there's a gangsters. When there are many gangs and the leading one being take off, the other number two and number three will start to fight, and they find a new area. Same thing what will happen in the world. Okay, we go back to the jungle law. So let's see how Europe's happening. What
They more is like about like a soft diplomacy, you know, where they do this kind of thing, but soft and slowly and kind of.
I think diplomacy is getting secondary. Before it was a primary method to resolve issue because you want to establish rule-based order. Now they become secondary, and first is about exhibition of power and influence. So
Yeah, another kind of world, like a cold world, like
it's actually I would even argue
because we have diplomacy, we have the United Nations, and diplomacy need work for a while. It was not perfect, of course, but it was a precedent and it helped, you know, to maintain order in like the global order and peace among the countries. But now, yeah, it's a show of power, and that's what happened in the World War, like in the Cold War.
it's like back to the jungle time of history. You look at how gangster fight. In the gangster, they have like you have your power. No, the leader will come to fight each other. But before I mean, in the gangsters war, they of course not
Like so, the most against country.
but the old what model the gangster will have two group of people. confront each other. They will pick the leader, like the boss will come and trying to show off the fight.
Mob was
Then they fight. Only that two will have harm. And okay, if they resolve it, they will even attacks all.
remember that in gangs and in mobs, there's a lot of prison deaths and it's very chaotic. Like,
But I'm saying just like it's a war. You will street. So you go back to the jungle laws. That's the how you see this
what's more chaotic is more about the strong will survive. No, I don't see the strong, the more, well, Darwin said that because you're talking about the jungle, which is the stands that the strong will,
the house of the fittest.
yeah, but no, Darwin, with the true theory of the evolution, he said that it's not the strong, it's actually the better who adapts.
That's actually right. I mean, many times we think history and evolution is like going to a spiral up.
Evolution of history, no, but it's
So actually, it's always chaotic. And it goes back. It goes back. It's only what works better. It doesn't mean it has no like next level. It's always trying to. Yeah, this is the word. I think that's the pragmatic. And
then sometimes strategies beat power.
yeah,
And that's it.
and that's why you see many nations or it's like in this word community. Some is like the top guys, they're lost, and some are just trying to stay low and trying to be flexible, and not taking stands until it's necessary.
Right.
And that's some kinds of you can see
It's interesting.
very interesting. Yeah.
It's an interesting topic, but yeah, we'll see what happens. And next, we have to be. I want to be very optimistic. That they will stop at some point. And yeah, people will tell, like you said, this in this universe we're living this, and it's very interesting that we started 2026 with this, with this situation. But yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know if you want to add up something to end this podcast a little bit. It's been like many good ideas and topics has been discussed. I'm really happy. Thank you for coming. Actually, Michael, I love your perception. We've talked about many things, and yeah, like I said, I hope everything goes for the best of humanity.
Yes.
And for countries and continents. Yeah, I hope everything will settle down. That would be the best. But like I said, time will tell.
I think you just pinpoint them. I say, oh, time would tell, and I think yeah, we need more time to see what's happening. But we really living in a very, very, very special era of humanity.
You're right.
Yeah, and, either from civilization, like the technology, and
Yeah.
also the world order, everything. It's not easy, actually. Everybody has to. I mean, has a lot of to process and.
A lot, a lot, a lot. Actually, I recently watched a documentary of the UFOs. Like, yeah, that's another topic that because there's like some files out, and they're saying that they exist, and that's pretty much it. That's a topic maybe for another podcast.
Exactly. I'm curious. I mean, I do have the impression we either living in the virtual world or we are having been influenced by some. We're higher.
We're being watched. I think is yeah. But yeah, if this remind me of a phrase of a famous song that Bob Marley sing his redemption song, and he said, "Don't be afraid of nuclear energy, no atomic energy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid of atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time." So I think that's a good phrase to end this podcast. Thank you very much, Mike, for coming. And well, I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you for following us. Subscribe and hit that button because we're gonna have more people coming over, and we're gonna discuss many different topics. It's been a great night. Thank you, guys. I love you. Take care. Oh, nice.